Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm your host, John Connors. I'm the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts in Norwood. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, mixed martial arts. Give us a call, come on down, and we will make your life significantly better. You'll enjoy life better. Life will be better. And I'm here with my co-host.
Can't be worse.
Can't be worse. Dan Rodman, how you doing, Dan?
Could be worse. I'm doing fine. How are you doing, John?
Thank you. I measured my HRV this morning, my heart rate variability, with an app I have on my phone, and from 1 to 10, it gave me a 5.
That sounds.
It said I
low.
may be overreaching, and I should take it easy today.
Have you been overreaching?
Might be overeating and overdrinking. I guess it's a form of overreaching.
So
yeah.
These apps, you still trust them though? You still use them?
Well, here's the thing, Dan.
I don't trust them.
Here it is, Dan. It's a data point, so I just take it all in. That's,
okay.
How did I sleep? Yeah. How much have I been training? It's imperfect for sure, but I think it's probably close to right today. I'm feeling a little 5-ish, feeling a little down.
I think again I've got still a touch of corona because I'm
right.
so I'm going to Florida tomorrow.
Nice.
And so of course today, right at noon, so about 25 minutes ago, ballpark. I just coughed and felt like my whole chest like rumble and itch, and I'm like, you're kidding me. Am I going to get, like, right before I go on vacation, I know I'm primed to get sick, ruin my vacation.
Well, if you're going to be sick, I'd rather be sick down in Florida than up here, I guess.
Not me, because I'd rather ruin just up here rather than ruin my vacation.
I hear you. Yeah.
We'll see, but hopefully it's not the corona and it's just like a...
I notice you say, this is a New York thing. Mm-hmm. They say ruined, where it's essentially one syllable instead of ruin. Like Boston, we say ruin. And I notice New Yorkers tend to say ruin.
So I don't want it to ruin my... Yeah, that's how I say it. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I always have to say it out loud to know how I say things.
I think I first noticed Howard Stern saying that.
I could say ruin.
And
ruin, though, sounds like something you explore if you're a archaeologist.
Right. You do know it's the same word, though, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding. I heard Larry David say it on Curb Your Enthusiasm the night, too. He said ruined. Yeah.
Wow. So would you notice I have a New York accent?
No. The only word I notice is ruined. Yeah.
Oh. I think there's other. I think I say draw. I tend to say draw for drawer. Like more like draw. Dresser drawer. But like...
I don't know if that's distinct from Boston, though. That might be similar, yeah.
The one thing I had from my hometown, because everyone out there, I think, has some kind of Boston or whatever hometown you're from, some hometown word. I had one weird one where I haven't found anywhere except, like, I guess, like above New York and maybe some of Connecticut. But it's calling a sub not a grinder. You have grinder, right?
We call it a sub, but I've heard... Grinder, hoagie, hero.
Well, okay, here's the one you haven't heard. Wedge. We used
to heard wedge.
We used to call it get a meat. I don't even say it anymore because like it's been so long. But we used to say I'm going to get a meatball wedge.
Yeah, I think I was someplace and they had wedge sandwiches. Yeah.
Oh, really? You've seen it?
Not around here.
Must have been Connecticut or.
I think I was out in the Catskills or something like that. Yeah.
I had a thing. I was up skiing. This is when I learned it. I was just a college kid, so I was right out of high school. I still thought wedge was... I was first learning what words traveled.
So when you use the word wedge in your hometown, what would I picture?
Sub.
A sub. A meatball sub, Italian sub, kind of an elongated sandwich.
Yeah. I hadn't heard grinder.
Yeah.
This is actually what happened when I was skiing. I thought grinder meant meatball sub.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it meant, but it means just sub, right? Like
I don't know.
Yeah. So
when you say grinder, a meatball sub pops into my mind, yeah.
Right, but I think it means just sub.
Okay.
Because I said I went up to skiing and I got to, there was like a line for the deli counter, and I got to the front and I said, I'll have a grinder, please. He was like, all right, what do you want on it? I was like, nothing on it. Because he thought it meant me. I go, nothing. And he goes, what do you mean nothing? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do I mean? I'm like, nothing. Plain grinder. And he's like, but what do you want on the grinder? And I'm like, I have to get something on the grinder. And he's like, yeah. And then I'm looking all, I didn't realize like that I was the butt of this joke. I thought he was. I'm looking at the line around me like, this guy, what's up with this guy? Meanwhile, they were all probably like, jackass, you know, like, so I'm like, yeah, I want nothing on. I want a plain grinder. Can I get that? You know, like, you want 2 pieces of bread with nothing on it. And I'm like, yeah. And then like the whole thing, like I realized like what happened, like all in like half a second in my brain. And I'm like, meatball, please, meatball grinder. And then I'm like sheepish. And then I'm looking at everyone. I noticed they're all glaring at me. I thought they were glaring at the guy. So that was that's when I learned that what grinder meant.
Okay.
And I subsequently learned that wedge ordered a
They have an app for those, I heard, too. I don't know.
Well, no, this is pre-app.
Okay.
I got a meatball wedge, and they brought me a pizza with like wedges of meat on it.
Huh.
Like meatball wedges on my pizza. When I ordered
You
meatball
said you
wedge.
wanted a meatball wedge? Is that what you said?
Yeah, and they brought me pizza which was fine actually, but these words tie you up.
That's confusing as hell, yeah.
It's like, and then I went out I lived in Indiana for 2 years, and they called all soda Cokes.
Right.
You know, that you could get an orange Coke, you know, just to get like if you want some orange soda, you could ask for orange Coke.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
And when I first drove into Indiana, just running through my language problems.
In Boston, old Boston would call that tonic.
A tonic, right?
Can you get me a tonic? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much vanishing, right?
I think it has vanished, yeah.
When I drove into Indiana, literally before I even got to my house, I was at a gas station and I bought some things. And the woman at the cash register said, I just threw some candy or whatever up. And she goes, want a sack? And I'm like, I'm sorry.
What?
I'd driven all night. I'm like, what? She goes, want a sack? And I'm like, I couldn't, like, you know, I'm trying to really listen to the second time. And I'm like, and it turns out she was saying, do you want a sack? And they called the bag, to put the stuff in a sack. So first of all, sack is a weird word for me. Then with the accent, I was like, I can't figure out what you're saying. That's always a really awkward moment when you can't understand someone and they repeat it like 2 times and you're like, I still don't know what you're saying.
Well, I find people in low positions like that, not to put on airs, but they tend to mumble whatever it is that they're saying because they say it so often. So they're just going around saying.
And she said it. Yeah, she says it 10 times a day, or 50 times a day.
100 times. Yeah. It's and they just.
So it was a combination. You have an accent. You had mumble. You had a weird word I'm not used to.
Yeah, I hate when I call up I get some customer service person and they just mumble something that they're saying 1,000,000 times a day.
Because that's a weird thing about human. I've noticed this too. When like anyone feels really calm, and I'm the same way. Like if you can't hear someone, you go, "Sorry, what'd you say?" And people are happy to repeat it once. And then if you say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that a second time? It's like immediate fury. It's like, you'll like repeat it once, like, sorry, I didn't hear you. So then you just repeat it. Then they go, could you, sorry, I didn't hear you. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like asked to repeat twice goes from like friendly to like furious. Yeah. Like, it's just like, did you ask me to say it again?
What happens to me is I ask them to repeat it because I couldn't understand what they said. And they go, okay, I will speak slowly and deliberately. And then the important piece of information they whip through again exactly how they said it the first time.
But it can get awkward. I mean, I'm older now, so I feel less awkward in every situation. But I remember being younger and having a cab driver that I couldn't understand no matter how many times he repeated it. And it gets really super awkward. You're like, I'm sorry, what did you say? And then they just keep, and I was like, eventually, like, I can't make out what you're saying. Like, we hit an impasse where I was like, I just can't
what
make
was
out
he
what you're
trying
saying.
to say?
I don't know. I still don't know. It just reached where I threw up my hands. I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know I can't understand you. And of course, by the third time, I'm like closing my eyes and like trying to focus on every sound. And I'm like, I can't make it out. Anyway, why are we on tangent here?
Yeah, we can't go on tangents.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we have important stuff.
we have
go
important
over.
stuff. I think we should revisit a couple things. One is the Invincible Mind Project. So
Yeah.
we have a Kickstarter going. Dan, you were so kind and generous to be one of the backers. Very generous backer. Thank you so much. We now have 59 backers. I'm looking at it right now.
So why don't you repeat again what this is, just in case
Yeah.
there's anyone out there who doesn't know about this project?
So The Invincible Mind is a documentary that we've been working on for about 3 years. And it's these filmmakers followed myself and some of the fighters from our gym, competitors from our gym. And they're putting this together. They actually went out and interviewed Kenny Florian at his gym in Los Angeles,
Right.
Meraki BJJ.
And you can see a clip from that interview.
There's a 2-minute clip of Kenny Florian on. So if you go to Kickstarter and look for Invincible Mind film on that page, there's a 2-minute video of Kenny Florian, which was really good. I thought he really tapped into an interesting idea. And then we also have a little sort of preview of the film. It's about 4 minutes, and it's really well done. It's really exciting, great editing. But they're raising $9,000 for the editing,
Right.
which is I think they might be halfway through or something like that. So it's very cool.
What would you really quickly say this film is about, other than following you, or do you not know?
I kind of don't know, but I thought the 2 minutes they put up from Kenny was very interesting. So Kenny was talking about, I think our listeners will appreciate this idea. I was thinking of an idea came into my head the other day, Dan. You know, we use this word ARETE at the academy sometimes, the ancient Greek word, and it means excellence. But it sort of means being excellent at everything you do. So I thought of the phrase ARETE and then everyday excellence. And I thought of another phrase, ARETE, excellence for everyone. So very few of us can be Super Bowl champions or UFC champions. Kenny actually competed, I think, 3 times for the championship. You know, he had a great career, but a lot of us can't even reach those heights in any sport. We're not even close to it. But we can all try to have excellence in our life. So I think the film is about that. Regular people sort of setting a goal for themselves and trying to do something extraordinary for themselves, you know?
Right.
And I think that's an idea we don't hear a lot of. You know, there's a lot of aspirational stuff, like even the brands, Nike or whoever. You know, you get LeBron. I don't know who endorses him, but you know, everyone wants to be like Mike. They want to be the world champion. You know, they want to be the greatest of all time, the GOAT. That's another phrase. So it's not even enough to be a world champion anymore. Now you got to be the GOAT,
Right.
which is the pinnacle, right? But most of us aren't even going to come near the pinnacle. But it's sort of what we've been talking about, Dan. You can have, by investing yourself in a process, you can just do your day-to-day in an excellent fashion, and you can experience excellence, and you can have excellence in your life. And I think the film is a little bit about that. I think it's about recovering from loss, because we all have loss in our life. If you're trying something, you're going to have loss in your life, you know.
Right.
And
Even if you're not trying something, but then if you are, one of the downsides is an added opportunity for loss in a way too, right? Like you've added another. If you've added goals to your life, you add possibility of not reaching them or falling short.
Definitely. But you add excitement.
Yeah.
You know, I like it. When last year when we were getting ready and we're competing in all these tournaments, I had much more anxiety, and we talked about it on the podcast, and I came up with all these different methods to deal with it. But now I don't have anything really looming on the near horizon, and it's kind of boring. I kind of miss being a little anxious, you know. I think a little bit of anxiety is probably healthy, right?
Yeah, and also, I have a friend who's his sister is going through like some troubles in her life. It doesn't really matter the details. You know, she's just having difficulty, And he was saying, like, he doesn't listen to the podcast.
Okay.
And he was basically saying a lot of the things, he was sort of coming around to things that we talk about on here, which is
Okay.
at the broadest level. I'm not even sure we've talked about this broadly because we're always talking about competing or jiu-jitsu, but
Mm-hmm.
he was saying he thinks a lot of people in their lives could just benefit from a couple of things, and we've touched on all of them. One is just more organization, like just organize your thoughts. That's why at the littlest, stupidest level, we've said, why would it possibly benefit you to get up and make your bed? Who cares about making your bed? And I get that. I get saying who cares about that. But I think that's what it is. It's like, get things together. How did we talk about competing and come around somehow through us just tangents talking about decluttering? Why did our minds go there? I think it's because of this. It's because it's about organized, like getting things together. There's something about, so I think with my friend's sister, you picture the opposite, like the bed's unmade, the house is, not in order. Like it's sort of like get things in order. I think a lot of people could benefit from organization. And then what do you do? And then it's the other stuff we talked about. You get a goal. You set in place an effective process. And this is all of a piece, right? It's all of a piece.
I think so.
Organizing things. And because I think a lot of people, there's a lot of unhappy people out there. And I think a big part of it is lack of organization. Like everything's flying out of control for them. And they don't know why. They don't know what to do about it. They don't know how to stop it. And I think that at the broadest level, that's what we keep talking about. Right?
I think
Do you
so.
agree with that?
Yeah. That type of disarray in your life, clutter, all those things are pulling on your attention just a little bit. And it's just enough to distract you from what you want to focus on. I mean, if you think about it, the most important thing you have is the ability to control your attention. If you put your attention on something, you can make progress,
Right. So actually, I thought of it. I wasn't even going to bring this up, but now I'm thinking it's really relevant to the point. So my friend who I was talking about, who's trying to help his sister, he is actually going through about a fairly, it could be worse, but it could be better, like a bout of cancer.
Oh, wow.
And he is in a much better mental place simply because he's attacked the cancer using sort of these strategies. Like he's a very organized guy, and he's like, he has plans. He's like, here's some milestones. Here's my goal. Here's the long-term goal. What do I do to reach this? And he's like, I'll do this and this and this, to help treat this cancer. And he's organized it. He's like, each day he gets up and he's like, what am I doing today to try to fight this? And so he's kept, he has some, obvious, that's a very stressful situation, and he's dealt with it and dealt with the stress through his organization. So it's sort of funny, like he's helping his sister who doesn't have cancer. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I think the difference is the organized mind and the plans and the process that's put in place. Because then there's a feeling, I think, with him of like, what else can I do? You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I'm happy with my plan, and that's all I can do.
Yeah, he's investing himself in what he can control.
Right.
And then it allows you to let go of the things you can't control as much.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very powerful. They say research shows the biggest indicators of success are, it's not only intelligence, but the other part of it is conscientiousness. And in the Big Five personality profile, conscientiousness essentially refers to what you're saying, organization and reliability. And I realized I'm probably a little less organized than I could be. That's not a strength, but I'm thinking the more improvement I can make in that area, it's probably going to guarantee me just more success in general in life.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there so it's conscientiousness?
So
is it versus?
So the acronym is OCEAN. So O stands for openness.
So this is this Big Five personality.
This Big Five personality inventory. So essentially, these Big Five qualities, you can map them over a population, and it'll be representative of some form of bell curve. And there's people who are average in openness, and some of us are more open than average. Some of us are less open than average. So
is there an idea that you should be in the middle, or is it just descriptive?
No,
Like there's not like
just
you
descriptive,
should be.
no.
Right.
and a lot of people believe it's genetically fixed and like you can't even alter.
So you can't.
I don't believe that's true. There's also some research that indicates as you get older, your personality changes. So I'm sure when you have hormonal changes and things like this, it's going to change your personality.
I think probably, I believe that you are born with certain, you're somewhere on the spectrum of each of these things genetically,
Yeah.
but I don't believe that you can't change it. I believe that genetically could make it harder to change, or like
Yeah.
maybe if you're born on one extreme, you can't move yourself all the way to the other extreme.
Right.
But I find it hard to believe you can't. I've seen so many people, including myself, change sort of fundamental aspects of their personality over
Well,
time.
I
at
also
least a
think
little.
there's some traits that naturally change even from a young age to adult. So, in other words, so I'll just go through the five. The ocean. Ocean is the acronym to remember. O is openness. So somebody who is above average openness, maybe they're more likely to get a tattoo, experiment with some drugs or something, maybe even try dangerous activities or martial arts or something. A less open person would be more buttoned up, more conservative,
So I could see that's a good example of one's not better than another. It's just
Right. Yeah,
Where-
definitely one is not better than the other. C is, everything has a plus and a minus. Conscientiousness. So, that sort of orderliness, reliability. Somebody who's above average conscientiousness. Somebody who is below level, below average, a little bit more disheveled, a little bit more unreliable. E is extroversion. That's obvious, right? See, I feel as a young person, I was very introverted. And I think there may be a natural adaptive benefit to being introverted, because you think about it, if you're in a Stone Age time and you're a young male, some adult male could just kill you because you're not his genes. You know what I mean? He doesn't give a
you don't want to.
rat's
So it's
ass
better
about
to
you.
keep out of the spotlight.
Yeah, shut your mouth until you're
Yeah.
fully grown, where you could protect yourself. Doesn't that sort of naturally
You
have
don't
a
get
logic
clubbed
to it?
by some
Yeah,
the neighbor,
Yeah.
your caveman neighbor.
yeah, kind of makes sense, I think. So I think that one changes naturally, and then also, if you get a podcast or you start teaching something you love, people become more outgoing and more extroverted when they're doing something like
Yeah.
that. So I think
I had
that probably
to-
changes, right?
So in graduate, I had to teach these 300 student classes and had to get up on a stage with a microphone, and I was in my early 20s. Like it sort of makes you. It forces it. That's sort of what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You can't sort of stay the same. It's not. You can't do that and be like, I never adapted. I'm
The
still.
experience is going to change you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're born with a nervous system. If you think about it, DNA is not exactly a blueprint, but it's sort of instructions to build, the way you look. You resemble your parents in general, this type of thing, eye color and hair color and things like this. So, the shape and structure of your brain is going to be similar. So then obviously the structure and makeup of your nervous system is going to inform your personality. We're not a blank slate and we just develop a personality because of the way our parents raised us. It's, there's a biological basis for our personality. But that being said, your brain and nervous system can change. There is some elasticity to it. So, I think it can change. So then where were we? Extroversion.
Well, let's back up to a conscientiousness.
Yep.
Because that one sounds like you just want to be more conscientious. Like it sounds better.
I think so,
You
for
know.
the most part.
The only thing I'd say about that is I bet with more conscientiousness, you get more stress, right? Because
Absolutely.
what I started thinking,
Yeah.
like I had a group of friends, I have still a group of friends that are not conscientious. Like it sounds bad, like the word conscientious, saying you're not conscientious. Anyone called that would be like, what do you mean I'm conscientious? Because it sounds like irresponsible or not caring or something. But
Right.
these friends are just, to this day, sometimes I'm like jealous of them, of people that are not conscientious. Tell me if this is the right sort of description of someone not conscientious. These friends could be like, and I'll give real examples, like one like just kind of slept through someone's wedding and like just kind of showed up like, oh, sorry, like, but no stress. Like I would have been
No
like,
stress,
for
yeah.
me, when that alarm went off, I would have been like, oh my God, like I slept through his wedding and like, in this frantic, and he just sort of moseyed in.
Oh, you mean he slept through at home in his bed?
Yeah.
I thought you meant he showed up to the wedding and fell
It
asleep.
wasn't his own wedding. No, he missed it
Yeah.
because of sleeping. And like,
Did he show up to the reception?
yeah, but just sort of rolled in.
Late to the reception?
Yeah, late. And like it was no.
Good for
you know
him.
what I mean? Like all the time.
Dan, I find weddings in general extremely stressful. I do not want to go to anyone's wedding. I think as a guy going to a wedding, you can only cause catastrophe. Like you're adding nothing to the wedding. I think about a wedding.
You're saying?
Yeah, I can't contribute positively. All I can do is like accidentally step on the bride's train and rip her gown,
something
or I
over.
could fall onto the wedding cake. All I could do is contribute to some disaster. I can't make it any better at all, and that just stresses me the hell out.
And I'll tell you what this is what stresses me out. Now every wedding has multiple boom mic cameras.
Oh, right.
So it's just natural. You're there with like a bunch of old friends or family. You're off at a table.
Yeah.
Lots of conversations can be like, I don't really need this on the wedding video.
You don't want that on the wedding video.
You can be,
You can get a
you
little
can all think
snarky,
of-
Dan,
yeah,
too.
Yeah, exactly. You're making little remarks about the groom or the bride or the family or the parents or something, and then you're like, then you see this camera like with a boom mic. You're like, this could be broadcast. Like,
I know that happened to somebody. So this couple that she's friends with my ex-wife. They're like best friends. I think it was them. When they get married, they probably get married in the 80s. Like right out of high school, they get married. And they had one camera and one microphone because it was way back then sitting there. And the guy sitting next to the camera had this running, shitty, snarky dialogue about the whole wedding. And that was the only
you could just hear it
video
the
they
whole
had.
time.
Yeah. You just hear this guy, this running, crappy commentary about and tearing everything down. Yeah, they were pretty furious at the guy. Yeah.
But you're right. There's nothing. You can't gain anything from.
As a guy, you can gain nothing. No. Yeah.
I went to Keith Florian's wedding.
Okay.
And I got mocked for the same thing. The video, like there was that lineup and everyone like warmly hugging, coming out like at warm, like just being like, congratulations.
The bride and groom, you mean?
Like
Okay.
giving Keith this warm,
right.
warm embraces.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not the best hugger.
You're not a big hugger?
I'm not a huge hugger. I would be. I'm not philosophically against it.
Jiu-jitsu is kind of a hugging culture a little bit too, right?
Yeah. I just didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. I'd like to learn.
Dan, my family, no affection at all. My mother sends me a Christmas card, and it's, or a birthday card. It's it's got a card that you would buy at CVS or something, and you open it up, and it says, it has a little greeting that's printed on the card, and above it, she writes John, and then below it, she writes Ma, M-A. That's it. So crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm not a big card person either. I
Yeah.
hate having to buy, like I've kind of established in our family, like I'm not giving cards. I don't
Okay.
like birthday cards, like because of that.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I have to come up with some kind of little thing? And then they're all kind of cheesy. I'm not a card person.
All right.
But so
And
everyone's
not
giving
a
these,
hugger.
everyone's giving these warm on the video. It's
Yeah.
like these warm, heartfelt hugs. And
Right.
I felt good. I felt that way.
Okay.
But apparently, like I didn't see it, but apparently on the video,
Yeah.
I'm like this stiff, like like he goes in for like the warm hug, and I'm like,
You get the hips back.
and I'm just sort of like I'm like
Mother-in-law
Frankenstein or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all stiff and like
That's pretty funny.
padding and awkward. But apparently it was like bad enough that like they rewound the video to like laugh at me. So, to your point,
Well,
no
then
benefit.
you
No
added
benefit.
something to the
Oh, I
wedding.
guess
Yeah,
I
you added some
accidentally-
comic relief.
I accidentally, yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't benefit me.
Not at all.
Still,
No.
your point holds about what
All
does
right.
it benefit me?
Nothing at all. No. Well, my point was you're not benefiting the wedding either.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
all you could do is and then there's you add booze on top of all this, right? On top of like what
Right.
you might say that's overly snarky,
Right.
more likely to knock something over or drop a. I did that once too on a dance floor. I dropped a bottle, and it shattered.
Bottle of beer you dropped in
Yeah, I
there.
think it was beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
dropped and shattered. Had
That's
to
not
like
a good
people
look.
running
At
out.
a wedding.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not.
it's not a
cool.
great look.
Yeah.
Everyone's scowling at me like, sorry, it just
Yeah.
slipped.
Could do that. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I don't like weddings. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, so that was.
Conscientiousness. Oh yeah, so
Oh,
we were
so
talking
you're
about
saying you like the
these
people?
guys. They remind me this group of like low conscientiousness, but I'm jealous of them.
Yeah.
They remind me it's like they always seem like they're functioning with like the song Margaritaville on in the background of their
Definitely.
lives, like at all times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, but they're just not stressed about.
They're not.
They'll be an
stressed.
hour late to something and be like, hey, you know, like
Yeah.
we said, that's part of jiu-jitsu culture too. For some of the, I think it's a Brazilian stereotype, right? Of like, because I remember, I'll tell you why. I remember Renzo Gracie coming in. He was like an hour and 45 minutes late to his seminar, like
To his
really late, like.
That's late.
And
Yeah.
he didn't come in like, hey, sorry, I'm late at all. You know, he just came in like, and he's a super friendly guy. He just came in like, hey, like he's not rushing. He's still like stopping and chatting with the,
Oh, right.
like clearly like as if he was early.
Yeah, maybe that's a cultural
You know
thing.
what I
I
mean?
don't know. Our classes start on time, Dan, and
Yeah.
end on time. So we got a little bit different thing. But yeah, I mean, so the plus side of being low conscientious is you don't sweat anything. The downside is you don't enjoy a lot of success in life either because you're just not getting after it. Like, so you're not going to have financial or career success probably if you're very low.
Or just in general, right? I'm sure
Yeah.
there's low conscientious people that have success and high that don't. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's all odds.
of course.
It's all odds. It's all
Yeah,
probability.
but now you're just pointing out the exceptions. So
Yeah.
it's not helping you. It's working. It's working against your financial
Yeah.
success, but it's improving your. You're not suffering from anxiety as much as somebody else. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's why
Yeah.
the super high achievers, they're all probably very high conscientious. So yeah, they're sweating everything. Kind of, I think. I don't know. So conscientious. Where were we? Oh, agreeable. So the A in
And we've
ocean.
talked. That's the one we've talked about.
We talked about that.
Wait, what was the E?
E was
This is my
extroversion.
memory.
Extroversion.
Right. Got
Yeah,
it.
introversion. That's not that interesting.
Yeah,
It is what
everyone
it
knows
is.
about that.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
So the A is agreeableness. So, you know, I'm glad we're doing this because my brother mentioned about the podcast. He said, yeah, you were talking about something that I thought was really interesting. I can't remember what you called it. And we called it being strategically disagreeable.
Right.
So essentially an agreeable person, you know, they concede in negotiations. So they'll take the worst seat. They'll, you know, move out of the way. They'll let somebody cut them in line.
Because we're kind of taught to be that way, right? Like, you know, you're taught that's nice. Like, you know, try to be agreeable. Try to
be agreeable. Yeah. But I think we all have an innate, we're all innately on that bell curve of some level of agreeability compared to the population. We're either, you know, average or, you know, a little bit more agreeable or a little bit less agreeable. So I think what we figured out is if you're more agreeable, you people like you, so you have friends, and you like your life experience. So if I'm relatively agreeable, if I go to a restaurant, I'm like, oh, this is pretty nice. I like this. If you're
Enjoying
very
yourself, yeah.
disagreeable, you go in there and go, this isn't that great. You know, this guy's taking a little bit too long to come. You start pointing out all the flaws.
I've known people that part of their experience of going to a restaurant was getting in a rage about something. It'd be like every time. It'd just be something the waiter would be like, here we go. Something about the food, something about the waiter, something about how long it takes. That would be a standard one. If nothing else went wrong, it would be like, where is our meal? And it'd be like, this is how long it takes to prepare a meal.
There
It
is
was like
that.
every restaurant takes this long to prepare a meal.
Yeah,
But they seem to like. They like.
there's a
just
really
always
old joke
aggravated.
about that. That's probably another racial stereotype. We're really treading on politically
You
correct
are.
grounds. And the waiter says something to the effect of, "Is anything okay, ladies?" Like instead of "Is everything okay?" Is
Yeah.
anything okay? Yeah. Yeah. So that's disagreeable. So we thought that if you were essentially average agreeability or even more agreeable than average, if you could strategically be disagreeable, pretend to get angry on occasion, it could benefit you.
Because for me, and I'm always careful about this because I feel like I felt when we were talking about this that I was like, hey, my realization was I'm too agreeable.
That's what you were thinking.
Yeah. The
Okay.
only reason I hesitate is because I always picture someone that knows me listening and being like, you? You know, like it's sort of hard to like call yourself too agreeable because you don't know if someone's going to be like, you? You're
Dan,
not
this is a
agreeable."
very good point because I'm wondering if it's even possible to self-assess this because people
Yeah.
who are very disagreeable, they feel like they're being perfectly reasonable.
Right.
And they feel like they're still getting screwed.
I wonder if like everyone would say they're agreeable. You know, I wonder what the percentage of self-diagnosis, if everyone would say, you know, you could go down, they'd say, I'm agreeable, I'm...
I bet you 80% of people say that they're agreeable. I think that's the one that's most difficult to self-assess. I think
because you could do introvert, extrovert.
yeah, that'd be easy.
I bet everyone would say they're conscientious.
Probably.
That would be another 80%, 90%.
People want to feel like they're open to, but
Yeah.
agreeableness, I think that one's truly hard to measure yourself because whatever you're feeling feels reasonable to you. So like this is perfectly reasonable. You know, there's a pizza with 8 slices. Dan, I should have 7 of these. I'm being perfectly reasonable.
Yeah,
Actually, you shouldn't even have the last
I'm bigger
one.
and I'm training and
Yeah,
I'm burning
yeah,
more
well,
calories. So, yeah.
So I think it's difficult, but I'm going to assess you as somebody who's known you
Okay.
for, I think, 15 years or so. I think you are slightly disagreeable.
Oh, disagreeable.
Like, I think you're about 51%. You know what I mean? Like
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I still want to be more disagreeable.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, now you do me. What do you think about me?
98% disagreeable. No, I don't
I
know.
only wish I was.
If I'm 51%, you got to be more disagreeable than me.
Am I?
Yeah, you don't
What
think
do you
so?
think, Dimitri? Who's more disagreeable? Both of us
Both.
are disagreeable. Okay.
What about
What?
who's more disagreeable?
We're the same
He
in
doesn't wanna say.
disagreeability. That's fine. I'll take that.
Do you know what that means?
Compared to average, how bad are we? Do you think? Extremely disagreeable.
No, here's my interpretation.
I respect your honesty and candor. Thank you.
He's not being honest because I'll tell you why. How I read that, he said we're even, but
Okay.
you're the one like sort of renting the space and giving him the check for the.
Okay.
So
Oh,
you must
So
be
he's biased
so-
for me.
Yeah, so that means if he put us at even, he thinks that you're more disagreeable, and he
Okay.
bumped you up.
That's a reasonable.
That's
That's a reasonable theory.
That's-
Yeah, I'll buy that. Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see. But there's definitely wherever we are on the scale.
I think I've gotten more disagreeable over time.
But you
I feel
want to,
good.
right?
I
Like you,
do. I do. I
because
hope
that's
I
what
get
I'm
even
saying.
more
Because the reason I
disagreeable.
was thinking I'm too so I could be 51% disagreeable, but I think that still is not disagreeable enough. And I'm going to bring it back to jiu-jitsu, and I might have even mentioned this at some point on the podcast, but or maybe just to you, that a standard thing with me is to try to be really nice to people on the mat, including like white belts and new people.
Oh, right.
And I try to not just I don't mean just roll night, but like be really like nice and humble and like sort of not go, oh, I don't know, I guess you could do it that way, or, you know, not try to be in like take the instructor's role, you know, not try to say do this, do that. And I used to find all the time, I countless times, there'd be someone with a white belt or like definitely less experience that would immediately take the role of like instructing me.
Right. So
Dude, especially if you're no-gi and they can't tell what your belt is.
They're interpreting your pleasantness, your agreeability, so to speak,
Yeah.
as an indication that you're lower status than them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
That's
and I
annoying.
would just sort
Yeah.
of roughly be like, oh, why don't you go ahead, go first? And the next thing you know, they're like, no, that's not how you do the pass or something. And I'm like, I cannot wait till we free roll.
Let me tell you something. There's
Yeah.
nothing so annoying as some white belt instructing somebody. I mean, it's great if they're pointing out some obvious
Because you must see it. They must
problem.
not do it to you because they obviously will all know who you are, but you must see it, right?
Here's
Like,
the thing
or-
that
or
happens with me,
overhear it.
Dan. I'll be rolling with one of my students in jiu-jitsu, and somebody on the sideline starts coaching the person I'm rolling against, and they think they're helping the person. little do they know they're flipping my competitive switch now.
Oh, right.
And then I end up just crushing the poor person, you know.
So as they yelled things out, they were just dooming
Oh yeah,
the person.
they're poking the bear. They're just
Yeah.
like really firing me up. I'm like, oh, you guys are all against me, huh? We'll see.
Yeah.
After I choke him out, I'm going to strangle you. And I don't get that bad, but it's probably not. I think it's poor form anyway. It's like I am the coach.
Yeah.
I
see what you're saying. You're
a
like,
white
let
belt
me-
did it a couple months ago. I was rolling with really nice guy, great student, good blue belt, Jay Covitz, and I like rolling with him. We have a good experience, and I'm rolling with him. And a new white belt, started trying to coach Jay. So I mean, this was inappropriate on a couple levels. It's like you shouldn't really, if you're a white belt, you shouldn't be coaching a blue belt. And he's training with his professor. Why are you interjecting here? Like it makes no sense, right?
Let's say I could see if I was Jay being irritated, being like,
Jay
"Why-
goes, yeah. Jay was smart enough. He goes, yeah. Now John's John's going to crush me. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, you're not helping me with this
Yeah.
coaching. I think he said something to the guy, but I had enough awareness at that moment to see the absurdity of the whole thing, so it didn't really trigger me.
I've said
like it
before
might.
that sometimes, like if a white belt is sort of taking that like instructive tone with me, especially it more often happens, right? If it's no gi, then they can't tell,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm like getting more and more irritated, and I'm like, I'll try to say something like, yeah, I know, like I've, but and they keep going. Sometimes you can't stop it no matter what happens, because then it'll be like, let's free roll, and I'll be like rolling totally different than I usually roll because I'm annoyed, and I'm like, I'm really going to try to smash him, like I'm really going to pass his guard. I'm really going to show him that, he's instructing someone that he shouldn't have been instructing. And it's happened a number of times where even that didn't matter. Like I would we'd slap hands, I'd sort of throw them down, pass, side control, and they're sort of like, good, that was a good. They're still talking to me like they're, like, that was a good pass. That was good. I'm like, oh, thank you. Was it good? How is this Kimura? Is this good? How's this choke?
That is really funny.
And the thing is, sometimes they're like that. They're like, that was good. Good choke. I'm like, thank you. Do you have any other advice for me? For other ways I can tap you? Like, they're like, no matter what happens, they're still talking as if like they're
holding on to that.
Yeah, they're holding
the
on,
high
yeah.
ground, that status.
But
That's
sometimes
really
it
funny.
annoys me because people jump on it so fast. I'm like, I barely, 2 words into being like polite or nice, and they're starting to instruct me and starting to take that tone. So that's why all this was to the point that I start feeling like I need to be more disagreeable. I have to be like, don't, like like put out the energy. Like, I don't need you to, especially for people that are like white belts, it's sort of like, don't.
People are status hungry, so if they see an opportunity to get some status on you, they'll grab it, I guess.
Right.
Not everybody, but some will.
Yeah, some won't, of course.
Yeah.
But if also me being nice or quiet or whatever I am, and I'm not always like that on the mat, but sometimes I am, like just kind of, I don't know the exact word, but you know what I mean? Like sort of
they
acting.
interpret it as weakness.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
And
you.
so I feel like I need to be sort of
I
mean
think
for
I am
new
getting-
people until I know them better.
There was a student, and she will remain nameless, and I was showing a technique, and she wasn't doing it right, and I thought she should have been able to do it, and then I went over and I was like, no, do it. And maybe I made her nervous when I came over and started, and then I just said, I'm so disappointed in you, and I walked away. Then I felt bad. I was like, that might have been too harsh. And then she Facebook messaged me a meme, and it's a picture of it's some weird meme of like Jesus is leaning into the frame, and it says, "I'm so disappointed in you." But I was told that she got a kick out of it. She just laughed it off. Yeah.
So that's good.
Because I was half joking, but
Well, you must have known her because I know I've seen you do like after like in later years there was a couple times where I would just be doing something wrong and you'd just be like, I can't remember, but I just remember sort of like, oh Jesus Christ, that was the worst one yet, or something like that, like because you knew me by then, and I just don't think you'd ever said that to like.
Yeah,
to, like, when you
occasionally,
first
like,
knew
yeah,
me,
I'm
or,
always
you
trying to
know,
help people
yeah.
like that. Yeah, that was perfect. You did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
perfectly. And then somebody it will be less than perfect. And I try to be positive. So sometimes I'll say, that was good. You
Yeah.
can make it even better by doing
Yeah.
this. Or I'll go, that was the way to make it even more perfect is to do this. But then sometimes people are so far off the track that I just go, I don't even know what the hell you just did. Yeah.
I remember I don't know if it was that time or another time, but there was something whatever you said, I remember being able to be like, I know, John, I know. It's something like I just missed it so completely that it was like, oh, that was just
But it
terrible.
gets your
You know, I was
attention,
like,
though,
I
right?
know, yeah. But also I was like, I know, because it was like a sweep that like didn't. When
Right.
something goes totally wrong, you're like, that obviously went totally wrong. Like,
But you have to have credibility as a teacher, too. If you're always telling everybody, yay. And
then it's like the kids'
it's
karate or
condescending
something.
and
Yeah.
it's silly. Yeah. And then people you lose your credibility. So, yeah, I think I've been a
And
little.
also, it's a sport. Like you don't do like wrestling coaches be like, oh, no, that was a good, or like football. You know what I mean? Are they like, good try? Oh, you could do it that way. No, they're like, no, you screwed it up, right? Like,
Yeah.
And so the gym isn't as harsh as like an NFL team or
No.
wrestling mat, but it's also not as easy as kids karate class or something.
Definitely. So I think we've established that we're both slightly disagreeable. I won't even say slightly because Dimitri's indicating that we're well above average.
We'll talk more about it after the podcast, I think.
And then you made a good point. I'm probably more disagreeable than you, which is fine. I think that's good. We should.
Well, who do you picture of the two of us more like? And I don't want to go like on a tangent with people listening, but like, if you picture more likely to be like, all right, you're being a little harsh. Like, I picture me saying that to you more than you would say that to me. Do you think? Is that a fair measurement?
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something there. Yeah.
Is that a measurement?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, that brings us to the N in ocean,
right?
So this is a technical term. People go crazy with this word. So the N stands for neuroticism, or being neurotic. And what they mean by neurotic in this context is essentially emotional variability. You get very high or you get very low. So, Woody Allen, I don't know if anybody remembers him, he sort of popularized like this idea of neurotic as being like a nervous person that sees this therapist and has this Freudian connotations, but that's not what we're talking about. This is just emotional variability. So if you're very low neurotic, you are Mr. Spock, which we've been talking about. Like we all should probably strive, even though it's something we probably can't change, to be less neurotic, less emotionally variable. And somebody who's very emotionally variable is these people that are, have high highs and low lows, and they're bouncing all over the place.
And again, it sounds like, so the good
so
thing
I'm
is
probably
to be
more I have higher neuroticism than you, so that I get harsher sometimes. You know what I mean?
That could be.
Yeah.
I think, and again, it sounds like no one wants to be neurotic, but you do. People do all the time. You hear people like, I have high highs and low lows, and
it's exciting.
It's a theme
thrilling.
and maybe this is even how the whole conversation came up, but it's a theme of your documentary, right? Like it's sort of like you're almost seeking out high highs and low lows.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right? It's almost like striving for it, like striving for things that can offer high highs. And almost anything that can offer a good, like a high, is going to also offer a low,
right? Yeah.
So you can avoid all. So one of the themes of the documentary, or your view, is to actually strive for that, right? Like strive for a life where you have both things, as opposed to avoiding all of it.
Right.
Although not everyone might want to, but
well, you can have experiences that challenge yourself that are going to potentially make you feel high or make you feel low, but you probably do better. Like I think my son is pretty low in neuroticism. He's closer to Mr. Spock than I am, and I think it enables him to compete better. He's a very good competitor, and I think you may not be crying at Christmas movies if you're low neuroticism. So you're going to miss out on some of those vicarious emotional experiences.
Right, you won't like the movie as much, right?
Yeah,
because you didn't cry.
You won't like it as much. Yeah. But then you're not going to get depressed because somebody said something to you or whatever. Yeah. So that has a plus minus. So they all have a plus minus. But I agree with you. I would probably prefer to be a little more like Mr. Spock, a little lower in neuroticism, a little higher in disagreeability, but I don't know. Maybe I'm already off the charts disagreeable.
Maybe you're one of those people that thinks that you're agreeable and you're actually very disagreeable. That you were
Probably,
describing.
yeah. Then extroversion, introversion, I don't really give a hoot about that. Whatever I am. I don't care. I wish I was a little bit more conscientious, but like you're saying, with conscientiousness comes anxiety.
Right.
But maybe if I just try to do the physical conscientiousness, like, and I'm doing this, Dan, in my house, just getting more organized, having less stuff. Like I always talk about in our kitchen, we have less food than most people have. We don't have a pantry full of stuff. You know what I mean? We just have food in our refrigerator. You know what I noticed, dude? Did I tell you this? We moved into, I love where I live, but the refrigerator was there. There's no door handle on the refrigerator. And that's like a channel factor. So it's literally hard to open the refrigerator door. And it's like in a recessed thing. So either you got to like fish your fingers in and you kind of crimp your fingers to open it, or you open the freezer.
So you're saying you
and
can
then
actually maybe eat less because you're like, I don't want to bother opening that refrigerator.
It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to open the refrigerator door. Yeah.
So you're saying
That could be a
people out
little
there
tip for
losing
people
weight,
out there. Yeah.
Remove the handle.
Take the handles off everything in your kitchen.
Just feel like I'm not going to bother.
Take all
Maybe
the handles off. Throw them
Tighten
away.
the jars really tight. You know, like I'm not going to bother opening that.
Right.
Get a really bad can opener. So you're like, am I going to have to deal with this?
Put the Oreos up on the top shelf. It's hard to get to. I wanted to mention Oreos today just because.
But have we even discussed what was that called?
What's
They've
that?
gone beyond double stuff and triple stuff. It was called like
Oh, you sent me
all the stuff or something like that.
Did you see that, Dimitri? They have new Oreos, all the stuff.
Is that what it was called?
I don't
All
know.
the stuff, or
I don't know. Didn't you send that to me?
yeah, but I can't remember what it was called. I was shocked to see. I was like, it's just completely now like.
It's just pandemonium.
Yeah, they've
Pandemonium.
lost the thread. They're just like, they're not even using numbers anymore. It's not like triple, quadruple. They're just like endless stuff or something
Yeah,
like that.
there
like,
it is. All
It's called all the stuff.
they got one that's the most stuff.
The most.
It looks gigantic. Yep. And then they have all stuff. Oh, all stuff has no cookie.
Oh,
It's just that white
you just
Gunk.
eat handfuls
of white
of
gunk.
the white gunk.
That's all stuff.
I think they designed the package so that you can stick your head into it. So
Then-
that way you don't even have to scoop any out. You just stick your head in and just
Then the
start chewing.
Most stuff. Yeah, I don't know what the most stuff is all about. It's like bigger than triple stuff, I guess.
Yeah, you can't just,
It's crazy.
like I said,
It's
you have to have
madness.
laws.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, and then all stuff. Yeah. It's not really an Oreo once it's all stuff, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's out of hand.
It's out
That's
of
for
hand.
people that just like, I don't even care. It's like
Yeah.
big globs of that white cream and just shoving it in their mouth.
Vile. Yeah. Okay. I don't remember the last time I had a regular Oreo. Dan, never mind this stuff. It's vile. Huh. Oh, you can get Oreo snow pants, Dan, and ski jacket.
Yeah, I have them. Too late. You're well behind the.
You have the.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have the Adidas men's basketball shoes? Oreo basketball shoes.
But one last thing about.
Yeah.
I think. So the take-home point, though, is I think it can't help wherever you are on any of these measurements. It might be. I think for almost anyone, there's some use in thinking about them.
I think it's helpful
At
to know
least,
where you
like,
are.
So you could, presumably you don't remember what we just said, but you could Google
Ocean.
ocean.
Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism.
And I don't think it could hurt to think where you are on it, and if you
I
are
think
where
it's
you
helpful,
want to
Dan.
be,
Yeah,
and if you
definitely.
want to shift it a little bit. And you might
Or lean into it.
and you might decide you don't want to. Like you said about introvert, extrovert, you're like, I'm not interested in that one.
Don't even care.
You might maybe you're not interested in any of them, but like, it can't hurt to run through it.
Yeah, and research shows the more conscientious you are, the more success you enjoy in life. So, yeah, I'm going to try to get more orderly than I am now, Dan. I'm doing pretty good. I make my bed every day. I'm getting rid of my stuff. I'm paring down. I got
I'm
rid of
trying
a
to.
lot of books. I still have too many books. I'm going to get rid of a lot of them. Yeah, definitely.
I love getting rid of stuff.
Yeah. So we talked about the film. So folks, please go to Kickstarter. If you're already a backer, thank you so much. Check out the videos we have up there. Invincible Mind at Kickstarter. And then we talked about Ocean. OCEAN,
pretty much the whole thing, right?
the personality inventory. And we've determined that we're probably pretty disagreeable, and we're happy with that.
Based on Dimitri, but
Yep.
I don't know. He's
I don't know.
Yeah.
I trust his assessment.
You do?
I think he's probably on the money. Yeah. And that's about it. And thank you to all our fans. And please share
we have
this.
super fans to shout out, or
We
just
got
kind of
so
the
many
usuals?
guys. Yeah, we get. I'm afraid
We
I'm
need
gonna.
to shout out the usuals every time. 'Cause-
Right. Well, I already mentioned 10, right?
No.
Yeah.
Last time though.
I mentioned today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because he said something about Oreos. But we'll get to the super fans next week. How about
Sure.
that?
Sounds
Thank you
good.
guys. You know who you are. Thank you so much for everything you do, and please share this. And we'll talk to you soon.